And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess. We have Chris, the old guy, here once again. Just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. You are going to a game this season, be it NHL, AHL, ECHL with our friends down in Indy. Please wait for the whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. The bathroom will be there. The beer will be there. The food will still be there. If you don't want to eat at the game this year, you're going to a Blackhawk game and you're like, a $15 thing of a couple of chicken tenders is far too much. Su Taqueria El Rey del Taco down on Ogden is amazing. The food is good. Everyone's nice. And it's not grossly overpriced like inside the UC.
Yeah, I keep on telling myself I'm just going to make myself a sandwich and go to the game, but I end up leaving a little early and eating there. So I can't help it. I'm starting to become addicted.
Yeah, big fan. We got some things in the not just the NHL world, but outside of our little bubble of Blackhawks and Rockford and prospects. PWHL is finally back in season. This is season number 2. They've had the first couple of games already. You love to see it. I'm very excited to go to my first PWHL game at the end of February to see Minnesota versus Toronto. The New Jerseys look lovely. Love everything about it. Other news, Alexander Ovechkin has been reported to already be being seen skating 2 weeks after a fractured leg because, to quote my favorite source for Washington Capitals news, the Russian machine never breaks. So he was predicted 6 to 8 weeks. I imagined it would be before then because he's very much similar to the Sid the Kid, McDavid, Bedard mindset where, I'm above the timeline that my doctor gives me. I can be back on the ice long before that. So who knows as to when he's fully game ready, but he is on the ice.
Always good, and they continue to be rolling. So
yeah, absolutely they do. Speaking of guys injured and coming back from injury, didn't get the memo about this until I saw the Montreal Canadiens score for tonight. Patrick Laine is back. I love that for him. I love that for the Canadiens because right now the Canadiens, like the Chicago Blackhawks, need all the help they can get. So it's great to see him back from injury for the Canadiens.
Yeah, he put one in the net tonight, right?
Yes. That's how I learned that he was back from injury. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Final thing in the NHL world is the projected training camp rosters for the World Juniors have come out. For those who have not experienced World Juniors before, it is like kids under the age of 20 compete on an international scope. You've got Canada, you've got US, Sweden, Finland, Slovakia, Latvia, Czech Republic, and quite a few others. It's very entertaining. It starts the day after Christmas, December 26th, and runs till probably about the end of the first week of January. So it's not too long, but it's super fun and exciting. It's a lot of prospects, potential draft picks for the upcoming year. Depending on the country, a lot of people or a lot of teams will structure their rosters very differently. So US and Canada is going to be more prospect heavy, and Sweden and Finland typically take kids from their own professional leagues. They've done that for the past couple of years. It's also, they just run their international teams a little bit differently. But with these projected rosters that have come out, a lot of controversy, opinions, concerns, a lot of people wanting to jump off the deep end have come out in the Blackhawk world. Oh, Krusty's leaving us as I'm going to...
killing me.
But yeah. So big concern. Well, for the Chicago Blackhawks, we do have a couple of prospects. Your Oliver Moore, your AJ Spellicy are, as of right now, on the training camp roster for Team USA. I know Krusty was a little worried last week, thinking that we weren't going to have anybody. And we don't have a ton, but we do have Oliver Moore and Spellicy. I think the biggest concern for the Chicago Blackhawk fan base is Team Canada's roster that they announced. And a lot of people were expecting Nick Lardis, who we talk about on the show all of the time. He is not on the list. And I honestly don't think it's the end of the world because Team Canada shocked a lot of people. And there's quite a few guys who we kind of assumed would be on the list that have been left off. I think, or at least this is just my opinion, that Team Canada is changing their strategy in terms of who they invite and how they fill out their roster for the World Juniors. It seems like in the past couple of years, it's kind of just been, these are the top guys, regardless of the type of game they play, where they're from, and talents, weaknesses. These are the top guys. So obviously these are the guys that we have to take to World Juniors. It seems like they're not completely, but a lot more than they have been in the past years, looking for players to fill specific roles within that roster and not just automatically taking the top 20. Because yes, Nick Lardis is not on the list, but also Michael Misa is also not on your list. And for those who do not look up the 2025 draft stuff as much as I do, Michael Misa could be projected to be your number 2 pick for this 2025 draft. And he is not on it right now. Him and Porter Martoni are currently the number 1 and 2 in terms of leading goal scorers for the OHL. Porter Martoni is on the list for Team Canada. Misa has been left off. And there's a couple of other prospects. So I don't think it's a huge concern. I definitely think that it stinks because one of my favorite things about watching World Juniors is being able to watch different prospects, especially like CHL and college prospects where you really can't see them interact with each other, at least have a little bit of an opportunity to. But I think Canada is just pivoting how they structure their team, and it's not a Nick Lardis is not talented.
Oh, I'm sure it's not that. I still would have liked to have seen him on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been great for him to be on a big stage. So, but again, it's Canada. There's a lot of good players. So I'm not going to go nuts about it. I did also see that I believe the guy from the defenseman from the Calgary Hitmen
is also not on it.
Also not on it.
Neither is Tija Ginla for the Utah Hockey Club is also not on it. Yeah, so there's definitely guys that are missing. So I think it's just they're trying something different.
Yeah, there's definitely people that I'm more shocked at the Lardass that wasn't on there, but I just kind of figured, the way he's pumping in goals, he'd have a good chance. Yeah. And I would have just liked to really seen him on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. I, for one, I don't know about you, Krusty, I'm excited to see McKenna on the world stage. That was also another shocker with Team Canada's roster. I mean, not really, because he is the prodigal cousin of the Beacon of Hope, who lives for international competitions. But Gavin McKenna, only 16 years old, is a 2026 draft eligible pick, who is the younger cousin of Connor Bedard, currently playing for the Medicine Hat Tigers in the WHL. Yes?
Yes, which I found very interesting. He is cousin through marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. So not a complete bloodline in the family.
Yeah.
So, which I just assumed it was bloodline.
Yeah.
But it is not.
Still,
which I found weird. Yeah.
Be exciting to see him. I think Team USA's roster, be it there's only a couple of Blackhawk picks, but I think the roster in itself looks pretty entertaining. The other piece of information that I did, because I went snooping for, because typically we have seen Adam Guyon on most international competitions, and I believe at this point he has aged out. So that is why he is not in net for World Juniors. Because
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, we should have a goaltender, but our goalie has aged out.
No, so for us, I am the main guy. You're going to be, well, you want to see how Oliver Moore does and see where he's slotted. Hopefully he's playing in the top 6 role, and hopefully he can make some noise. It would be very welcome from the way the season's going with the big club to get a little nice taste of somebody and go, ooh, that might be another piece.
Well, I think as of right now, I think I've seen him projected to be the third centerman slot. And I think that's realistically because Team Canada, or not Team Canada, Team USA is going to want to fluff and promote the hell out of their number one center. I think if James Higgins is not there, then Oliver Moore is playing top 6 minutes. And that might change throughout the competition. But I think that's kind of their pride and joy, because James Higgins is projected as of right now to go number 1 for the 2025 draft. It's kind of between Higgins, Porter Martoni, who I would really love for the Chicago Blackhawks to take, but we will get into Porter Martoni later into World Juniors, and Michael Misa. They're all kind of in the midst for the top 3 as of right now for next year's draft.
Okay, yeah, I'll save the rest of my stuff for when the juniors is going on.
All right. Got anything else in the NHL hockey world? 4 Nation rosters come out tomorrow, but we had to record this prior to the Boston game, so we'll have our opinions at some point. Go Finland, and I will be protesting Team USA if Patrick Kane is not the 13th guy.
We were just watching the Boston game, and in between the second and third, one of their people did their roster and had Patty as the 12th and my guy Robertson as the 13th forward.
That's fine. Just don't leave him off the roster.
It'll be interesting. He's in a funk. He's in a slump. So again, it's just the veteran leadership. It does matter to him. So that's kind of why you would put him on there. Plus, he does sell tickets. He does raise interest.
And speaking of 4 Nations, though, go Finland to continue another mini streak, because we got Tomo Ruutu as the assistant coach. As of I looked up, the only assistant coach.
So, nice. Yeah. Alrighty, and I don't think I have unless you want to talk about the Biz incident.
No, that's boring.
That's boring.
Okay. That's been talked to death.
Okay. I haven't heard much, but then I read up on all of it, and I do have to give a big thumbs up to the Biz on. Those are some really yucky people.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we didn't talk about it, so there you go.
There we go. All right, getting on to our prospects. Got a lot of prospect reports here. Starting off the way we typically start off with our prospect reports, going up to the University of Minnesota. We have 1 goal each for Oliver Moore and Sam Renzel this past weekend. 1 goal for Sasha Boisvert. We have a goal and an assist for Ryan Green at Boston University. 2 goals and 1 assist for Alex Ferrand for the Sudbury Wolves. 1 goal and 2 assists for John Mustard out of Providence College. Misiak is back, no longer injured. That's why we didn't see him on our scoreboard for a while, because he was out for a little bit. We have 1 goal for Misiak and 1 assist for Ty Henry. Just 1 goal and 1 assist for the Lardass this past weekend. 2 assists for Jack Pridham out of the Kitchener Rangers, and then a pair of assists for AJ Spellacy for the Sudbury Wolves.
Okay, I don't believe I have anything to add on the prospects.
That's totally fine.
Thanks. I don't want you to think, I don't do anything, I'm not working.
And I will say the reason we are not seeing Aiden Thompson on our list is not that he didn't do anything this weekend, it's that Denver University didn't play. All right. Getting into Rockford, because guys, there was a lot of hockey this weekend. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't
Lie
watch
to
all
him. Just lie to him.
No, we're about the honesty. The honesty.
I thought we were about the love. Are we honest and about the love?
It
Oh,
depends on the week.
that's beautiful.
Friday we only caught part of it because Flow Sports was having blackout issues with the game. But Friday night, Rockford played Chicago. Nice beginning. NASCAR once again really heard what Krusty had to say about him and proceeded to still give him the middle finger. And I'm going to say this every week. Just because Frank Nazar looks good right now does not mean he needs to come up to the big club. It will not benefit him one bit to bring him up to the big club right now, because right now the big club is friggin' pathetic. And the only thing you do is give him a crisis of confidence while he is still developing by pulling him up too early. Let him get comfortable in Rockford. Let it be so glaringly obvious that he is ready for the next step. And then maybe bring him up.
Yeah, even then, their objective is to continue to win games like all of a sudden they're doing, and to make a deep playoff run. That's all he has to concern himself with. Yeah, I've gotten it from a lot of people that Krusty doesn't know what he's talking about. Again, I'll just state, NASCAR heard me. He heard me, and then he said, "Really?" And then he turned it on. But, sometimes NASCAR needs a little push from me. And me being a Notre Dame fan, I got no problem pushing those Michigan people.
But yeah, NASCAR looked good on Friday. Doc looked really good. Third period got away from them, which is just not acceptable, but it happened. So they ended up losing on Friday. Saturday, Weeks was in net. It's an overtime loss again. Third period kind of got away from them. Doc looked incredible back-to-back games. They played Milwaukee this past Saturday. Weeks with an excellent, weird reach save.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
Incredible. NASCAR had a really good goal on Saturday, but the biggest takeaway that I got from it was the setup by Artie for NASCAR's goal on Saturday. I see more glimpses of his potential as the season's going on. I'm going to stop harping on Artie because, as we talk about all the time, he needs to develop. This is the whole point of Rockford. But I like the glimpses that I've been seeing this past weekend. He seems a bit more confident in his position. And speaking of confidence, Kevin Korchinski looks so much more confident. Game in and game out. This whole weekend, he looked great. And that I will also hop in on the NASCAR train. Kevin Korchinski does not need to come up right now. Frank Nazar does not need to come up right now because you don't want to give NASCAR an entire season of what you made Kevin do last year, of just sitting there and being uncomfortable and very much out of your depth. So once again, these kids do not need to go up to the big league level just because they had a couple of games. Let it be so glaringly obvious that they are the best person on the ice for the Rockford Ice Hawks, and then still wait 6 more months.
We can get back to NASCAR. That just the cons outweigh the pros by a good margin. If he's brought up and things don't go well, you could set him back a good amount. And if he's brought up and he plays okay, you've really done nothing for him.
Right.
It's just the opportunity to do a lot more harm is just there.
Yeah.
especially with the lackluster effort that's going on with the big club.
Yeah.
And again, I just think it upsets the locker room. Kevin, I'm glad to hear that he's coming around.
He had a great goal on Sunday too, that I was like, and that was probably one of the first times since he's been down in Rockford that I went, oh, this is why Kyle drafted him.
Yes,
this is what he is.
He was finally to get in. He was finally able to get in all alone, and he just didn't put the puck right to the goaltender's pads. Yes, it was a nice top shelf goal. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, that was beauty. Again, I'm hearing a lot of good things about both Artie and Kevin. People have already started to have a problem with Artie. I'll just start taking names down, and then we'll really start talking in 3 years. Artie's going to be a special player.
Yeah.
He can skate well enough with his size that he is going to be a special player. So he's 19. It's his third year over here playing at a professional level, and he's played at a different league every year. It takes a little bit.
Yeah.
So I do like what they're doing down there at Rockford, at least with the defensemen. They're really letting them go at it. So, which is good to see, especially because two of the defensemen down there, that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, Cora and Artie are meant to take things on the rush, and they're meant to attack. So, but with that, your forwards have to be very aware for that and be ready to take over defensive responsibilities. So, I'm glad they're all learning that together down there.
Yeah. Also really like to see this weekend, they moved Colton Dock up to the top line more consistently now. So he is playing off the wing of NASCAR. So it's not just two veterans, because for a while it was Senny, NASCAR, and Mayhew. Now it's Doc, NASCAR, and Mayhew. And then Senny is on second line with Slaggert and somebody that I'm blanking on.
Slaggert. Who's the second line center?
Slaggert.
Gut punch.
Slaggert's been taking center too quite a bit.
Oh, okay. But Gut Punch is the other guy on the line.
Yes. Sorry, Gut Punch.
I've got your back. I've got this stuff.
Thank you. But yeah, beautiful goal by Korchinski on Sunday. Great power play goal by Artie on Sunday too, which had to help be a confidence builder. Jalen Lupin was back up with Rockford on loan from the Indy Fuel. Also, we got to talk about it because it's been since October 12th. But an absolute nasty goal by the Savoie at the top of the game. Friggin' beautiful. It was just right in front of the eye, or right in front of the goaltender. Well, oh my gosh, it was great.
Don't worry, everybody. Next year when we have an intern, we're going to be able to just flip to that.
Ooh,
and we'll be able to nicely show you the clip of him scoring.
He tries to fake out and then goes top shelf, and I'm just like, this is great. Other kind of same issue, I think the biggest takeaway, they did end up winning on Sunday, but for the first two of Chicago's goals, my main issue is there is not a defenseman to be found. And it wasn't your same.
They're all up rushing.
And it wasn't your same two pairs that were on the ice for both of them. But there is not a defenseman to be found whatsoever. There's barely a forward. For the first goal, there's really nobody. They kind of just left him be, like the Blackhawks last night with Toronto leaving Austin Matthews by himself, because that's a choice. And then the second goal, you have Marcel doing his best to slide over from the other end of the ice to cover him, which I don't even blame him, because to be frank, that's not his job. So that was my main issue, is that for Chicago's goals, your defensemen are absolutely nowhere to be found. And that's not on Weeks. That's not on the forwards that are trying to play a different position in that moment. But also, like I said, it wasn't even the same two pairings. It was just across the board. Um, it was an issue.
Yeah, and again, the objective is to win games, and they're still struggling to do that. So, yeah, things might look good offensively, but obviously defensively, they're. And when I say defensively, I don't mean defensemen. I'm talking the group of five is struggling at times. So,
Also wanted your opinion because I know we talked about EDM a little bit last week, but there's been some just rumors and chaotic rumblings of that EDM's development is essentially a wash because he's staying down in Rockford.
I don't know who the heck that could be coming from. Number one, you need to understand that Nolan Allen's up here right now, and he's not even playing every night. If EDM comes up here, it comes up to the big club, he's not going to play. He's definitely not going to play every night. There is nothing that's going. This is the path for a normal defenseman. This is what they do. You okay?
Yeah, the cat.
Oh, the cat.
Keep talking.
I'll keep talking. We've been on this for 2 weeks now. ETM is exactly where he is supposed to be. He gets power play minutes, penalty kill minutes. He's the anchor back there. So he's playing close to 20 minutes a game in all situations. How is that wrecking his development? I have no idea. And again, down there, you're not wrecking anyone's development. It's not like these guys are blowing away the competition, are they? I mean, every game's easy. They're struggling to win. That helps your development right there. So, again, I've given my opinion about this 2 or 3 times already. So obviously, people just need to start listening to me. He's down there for many reasons. One of them is to lead. He is a key component, I believe, to the new defensive group. So he's doing everything he's supposed to. There's nothing that's stunting. Trust me, it would be more stunted if he went up to the big club. Okay? Yes, he'd be able to play well, but he'd still end up sitting half the time. What's the point in that?
Okay. I just saw the rumblings and it made me giggle, and so I had to bring it up.
Yeah, and you know me, I'm a EDM defender because
We love EDM.
He just hasn't done anything that makes you think otherwise yet. And
No, I think that, the main, and we've talked about this a little bit. The main word that comes to mind when I think of EDM is consistency.
Yep. Yeah. So
all that I want.
And again, they want him down there the whole year.
Yeah.
If they didn't, he would have been brought up way before Creature. They have a plan. Might not be a good one,
but it is a plan.
But as I said, I thoroughly believe they value his leadership a lot, and that was reiterated by, I heard Colton Dock doing an interview a couple weeks ago, and they asked him, besides the people who have like letters or whatever, who, and the only name he talked about was Ethan DeMastro, as far as leadership and a talker and just a guy who is already a pro. So that's why he's there, and that's why he's going to stay there. And it's all fine. Everybody relax.
All right. We're going to relax.
Don't do it when you want to go to it. Relax.
Oh, cool. Anyway, you got anything else on Rockford?
I barely know where Rockford's at.
All right.
But I know there's a casino close by.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Big fan of All right, let's get into the big leagues.
Okay.
It's been bad. Well, first, can we talk about Dallas a little bit because we recorded a little bit before Dallas, and we seem to light a fire under certain players' butts.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I did a really good job.
the only thing that I can say is thank goodness for really good teams having no faith in us and giving us their backup goaltenders. It's been great.
Yes, that's the beauty of being a terrible team. And I'm going to backtrack now.
Yeah.
And since I'll be doing more talking,
Yes.
I listened to our 100th episode, and you could tell your friends a great drinking game would be to drink every time I say because I say it a lot. So I'm really working on that. Just want to let you know that I'm attempting to get better and not say I mean, that was supposed to be said. But the other ums that aren't supposed to be said, I'm trying to work them out. So if you can see the concentration in my eyes, I am really concentrating not to say that word. All right. Shit. Okay, we're still talking about Dallas. You want to continue with Dallas? I just wanted to backtrack to that.
Fun. You know, a lot of people scored. Taylor Hall got a hat trick. Teuvo Teravainen got a goal on a 5-on-5, so Krusty can't say anything because it happened. And it was just a really nice game to have before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the hockey princess was able to yell at crusty old guy when, TT got his even strength goal. Bert got
Really
an
sorry to the guy behind us for me spilling half the beer because I got way too excited about the Taylor Hall goal. In my defense, I didn't think that we'd be scoring on Dallas 40 seconds into the game.
No, and again, as we went over beginning of it, it's nice to be going up against Casey DeSmith instead of the Otter. I'm sure there was at least 3 of the Casey DeSmith would have liked back. But no, the people that I called out at the end of last week's show stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
They at least got some even strength points and some power play points. Creature with his first goal. As the team was starting to pour it on, and there was nothing better because, Brandon Smith had taken a little elbow swing at Kurashev at the beginning of the shift. And by the end of the shift, right before Creature scored, Brandon Smith was eating post after running into his own player trying to play defense. So that's the kind of stuff Crusty Old Guy really likes. So yeah, I've got in my notes here that obviously they listened to the show. Obviously they heard it. NASCAR probably called them and said, "Did you hear what Krusty said?" And they stepped up. So a hat trick from Hall, points from TT and Bert at even strength. That's what I was asking for. I really do like the lines, so I'm hoping they stay together. All in all, a great game, and the Beacon of Hope finally got the big monkey off of his back with scoring a goal. So,
I will say my biggest thing from the Dallas game was I'd like Nolan Allen in and Wyatt Kaiser out. Didn't think he was great against Dallas. Wasn't completely impressed, but I think that's also just his style. He's an offensive defenseman. His defensive side concerns me. It wasn't awful. No, it was pretty great. But
yeah. I haven't had we haven't had a game like that where we were able to go into the third period going, we get to relax. This is nice. It might have been a couple of years since anything's been like that where we've had a 3-goal lead.
I will also say that clearly Seth Jones was not the problem because the power play entry still looks like garbage. So wasn't Sutt's fault on a power play. It's still bad without him. Let's see what other I have. I thought a great game by Vlasic. Totally forgot Brendan Smith existed until Krusty pointed him out to me. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a real fun game. It was like going up against the backup goaltender. So.
And then Minnesota.
Yes, Minnesota is next.
Yeah.
Bert with another even strength point. Donato with a goal.
Who signed your hat?
I believe that's either a Kyle Beach or an Eric Daze. I couldn't really figure it out. It almost looks like Brent Seabrook, but it doesn't have his number. So this is a hat I rarely wear.
It's a nice one.
And it's not Seabrook.
No.
It almost looks like a 20, but I can't tell.
Brandon Saad?
Could be. I guess that's possible. It's a name. It's definitely something that I've seen around.
That's a 20. That's Brandon Saad.
Oh, okay. Then I guess it's Brandon Saad.
Sorry, I'm derailing now.
Hey, that's about time. Way to derail. Yeah, my green ones, a lot of these green ones are signed. Unsure by who. This is a hat that's, rarely worn. But my hair was just, it was just a mess, and I needed to put on a hat.
Fair enough.
So the Minnesota game, we got out in front. It happened. And then things just kind of went their way like they have with the Hawks. They were up. It was 2-1. A simple play in front of the net. Murph tries to hit it with his skate, hits his other skate and goes in the net. And then Mrazek lets in an easy one from about 20, 25 feet, which, again, the next two games we'll easily talk about this is probably what happens if they ever get average goaltending. It kind of got away from them. They don't possess the puck long enough.
They don't possess the puck.
Right. Well, they occasionally possess the puck. And then also in my notes is something that, you like to talk about, so we could talk about it for a second.
I like to talk about.
Oh, you wish these other people that were on the ice were held accountable and had to.
Yeah.
The third period was probably the worst period of officiating. And as anybody who's listened to this show just a little bit, I do not beef about officiating. It's a very hard job. The Hockey Princess does, but I do not. And this was the worst I've seen in a long, long time. It was bloody awful. It made it very hard for the Hawks to try to tie this thing up at 3. There was a sequence when Donato was tripped twice. And then he came back and gave Boldy's stick a little stick flip. And Boldy lost his stick, and they called him for interference. Unbelievably crazy. And then 5 minutes later, Murph is nowhere near. He gives the guy a little peck with his stick on his hip, and he went down, and they called the tripping play. And it was just crazy. And then the
Minnesota Wild were pretending to be Jeff Skinner for the day.
Yes, it was exactly like that, but it was just blatant and awful. And the Murphy one was with like 5 minutes to go, where you as an official, that's time that you have to see that. That can't be a reactionary hand up, which occasionally happens in the NHL. You kind of see it. You see kind of where it sticks at, but the guy is down, so you just figure, yeah, okay. just blatantly awful. And then they missed an icing for Minnesota too. It was definitely the worst officiating I've seen in a long, long time. Did it make any difference in the game? Probably not. There's that. There was the trying to get away from it. Just noticed it. Wanted to say it again, but I will not. Oh,
Working on it.
I'm working on it, but it hurts. So it made it a lot more difficult for them to try to get that third when they spent an extra 6 minutes killing off penalties.
And I would like to say, I don't completely hate all refs. I am just a firm belief that when you have a job and you maybe goof up or consistently goof up or, blatantly just don't do your job, there should be a part where you are held accountable for your goofs ups.
There is.
It's so ineffective, it makes you wonder if it exists. And so that is my opinion on it. Not that I just blanket hate all refs. There's a lot of stuff that they have to deal with. It's a very fast sport. I understand that. But there's just a lot of, we've talked about this a lot on the show, be it with refs on the ice or the big brother eye in the sky of Toronto, is the lack of consistency in the NHL. And that is my main beef with refs.
Yeah. And that's never going to change. So, but there is an accountability factor.
Having my beef, I just have beef.
Okay. But they're accountable to their department. They deal with it weekly. They do have meetings after every game. So, like this game, I'm sure it was very difficult for them to sit through. And it was a very bad review that they got. There's that word again. I don't know if Krusty's going to be able to get away from that one. You guys just might have to listen to it. Either way, it makes a difference later on in the year as far as what they get playoff wise, where they're graded. So, But it was, I've got that written down here. It was dog shit. It was real bad. And as I said, for me to comment on it,
it was real bad.
That means it was really, really bad. Yeah. What else did we have? Do we have anything else going on?
We have Toronto. No, we have Toronto.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things on Toronto because I watched it before my computer decided to crash out because, guys, as I say every week, I am poor. So we had Bloom versus Anthony Stolarz, and I would like to give credit to Anthony Stolarz. As a former Florida Panther, I really can't hate the guy. But I think not only has he played great in Toronto so far this season, but I thought he played a great game against Chicago. Leaving Austin Matthews open in front of Bloom is a very bold choice. And I would like a 500-word essay from Luke Richardson as to why he thought that was a smart idea. Because that seemed like hockey 101. And it seems like hockey 101 because every other team seems to do it very well when it comes to blocking the beacon of hope. So maybe just not leave 34 unattended because I can guarantee it doesn't end well. There was like the 8-minute mark in the second period where Bloom like fully just left, and I thought Toronto was going to score on essentially an empty net. Gave me a little bit of a heart attack. I liked the push at the end of the second, but it really wasn't all that great. Lucas with a nice goal. I would really like for Kyle Davidson not to trade Craig Smith at the deadline. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, he's a fourth line player. He's a fourth line player. He's got chemistry with Lucas. just keep it till April. It's working for the kid. If you're not really going to get anything for flipping Craig Smith, who cares if he's a fourth line player? He has decent chemistry with Reichel, and at some points, that's usually the only thing that's working in some of these games is the fourth line, or specifically the chemistry between Craig Smith and Lucas Reichel. So just keep it, because it really doesn't harm you. There's not a real difference between February and April, so just throw the kid a bone. From the Toronto Maple Leafs side, because I did talk about this in my Monday preview, and he had a very nice goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I figured you'd be happy with that.
Is Fraser Mitten, who I think is going to be a big problem for other people facing the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's one of their younger guys and has just been excelling so far since he's been in the Toronto Maple Leaf lineup. I believe this is like game 4, game 5 for him, and he's got 4 or 5 points. But I thought he had a really great game, which was hard to watch because we were playing against them. But I thought the kid had a really nice game.
Yeah, he did. They Nikes.
Hey, pick on a person and maybe they'll do well against Boston.
I don't think so. Again, another nice goal by the fourth line. There was some good movement, some good attack time. Not great attack time, but some good attack time. But come on, we occasionally get this from this team. They're already down. And then, a team lets off a little bit, and then we get a little bit more attack time, and I'm supposed to then go, oh, yeah, if we play like this, blah, blah. Well, the thing is we don't. Okay, we get up against a bad team like Columbus, and we just wet the bed. So that's another game we got to talk about too, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk about that one before this one.
Yeah, I got excited because I had notes for Toronto, and I don't have any for Columbus.
Well, then let's do Toronto, and we'll double back to Columbus, because Columbus, they were outclassed all game. There's that word again. I'm trying to figure out, maybe your fans could give me a different word to say instead of it, but then I just replacing it with something else. Either way, wanted to talk about Kaiser a little bit. He looked a little lost on the third goal. To my eye test, he doesn't quite get it done at times. Other times I see glimmers of, oh, that is awesome. And then I see other glimmers of, this is crap. But the metrics, he was the top-rated defenseman for the Hawks from that game. He was the third-rated Blackhawk. I don't know if I'm missing something. I'm sure I'm not. I don't completely get into the whole, once these matrices start coming out and everything, the metrics, I mean. Duncan Keith was never very good at them either, and I'm pretty sure he was a kind of an okay hockey player.
Yeah.
So it more has to do with shots on goal and everything else, and I don't care about the shots on goal. I worry about attack time and complete dangerous chances, especially dangerous chances that you give up. So I don't know their end game with him. I almost think like they're continuing to trot him out there, hoping he has a really stellar game just to trade him. Besides that, I don't know what's going on. I have a bad feeling that KD really believes he's the smartest in the room, and that's not good.
No, because obviously we know my girl is the smartest in the room.
There is no smartest in the room. Knowing that is half the battle.
The smartest in the room.
No.
She's at least the one that's in the room most of the time.
Yes, that's possible. So let's double back to the Columbus game because then this all makes sense. Where you play a team that's not very good, and you basically get wiped, like you're barely there. Power play came alive. There was 3 power play goals. I've noticed the beacon of hope half the time is on a different wall than he used to be. He's now to the right a good amount of time from the pickle.
You
They're
okay
getting,
with that?
at least in the Columbus game, there was a lot of good movement. That is key for this team in the power play. Once they're all stationary, just like back in Kane's time, once everybody's all stationary, it does not work. Everybody's got to interchange. The Beacon of Hope seems to be getting better at that and understanding after a tiny bit. Just take the puck down low, take it to the other side, but move you and the puck somewhere different.
And I think a prime example of that for our listeners is the Jersey Rangers game this past week. Um, the the power play was absolutely relentless. On the flip side, New Jersey's penalty kill was absolutely insane. And I'm surprised that 2 of the players aren't just out for months based on the amount of shots that they took. But you see, it's just constant circles, it's just constant motion.
Number one, I've noticed there is nobody that can set up the Beacon of Hope. It seems like there's nobody else on this team that can get him a one-timer in his wheelhouse. At the Columbus game, it was yucky. And at the next game, it was even yuckier. But nobody gets it to where he can just one-time it. It's always at his feet or somewhere else. I don't know exactly why. But they don't have a complete one-time threat. You have to have movement. There's only 4 of them. Once you have movement and make them chase, somebody's going to chase into an area that they're not supposed to be in. And that's where you have the one more pass and you can get a good shot off. And then after that good shot, there's always a good rebound.
Oh, yeah, that's my note from Toronto. Stop being cute and just shoot it.
Well, there's something in that, but you need some movement first.
Well, to be that annoying person in the 300 level, screaming, shoot it. Guys, it's me.
Right. But there's no sense in shooting when you have 2 people behind the net and one on a wall and there's nobody in front of the net.
And yeah.
The power play needs to continue to get better, which it is. But there's fundamental things that they just need to continue to improve on. Hopefully they will. As far as the Toronto game, again, you had a Columbus team that you should be playing with and you wet the bed. You played a little harder against Toronto. I'm sick and tired of that. After last night's game, I'm just sick and tired of it. I could care less that all of a sudden, we put together, 35 good minutes here, and maybe no, we're the worst team in the league. San Jose now is winning, and they're blowing right past us already. We can't be the worst team in the league. It's unacceptable, I thought. Now, I was told it was unacceptable. I haven't heard from this guy who said it was unacceptable. So obviously it's acceptable because it's allowed to just continue on. And if it's allowed to continue on all the way to Christmas, well, then good luck, because once you're done with Christmas break, whatever tickets you haven't sold, you're not selling to anybody. I don't care how many beers you give them. So something needs to be done. There, I wanted to rant just because the comments from everybody from the Toronto game going, oh yeah, this is what we need. But they lost 4-1. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, that's what we need. Okay, we need to lose 4-1 every time. Come on. These are all decent NHL players. They're decent. They are. There's nobody that's dog crap on that team. Pick one.
Brody.
And Brody had a great game against Toronto. By far the best he's looked all year. That is a fact.
All right.
But besides Brody, there's no.
We're gonna put our magical tin caps on to finish out this episode. Magical tin cap.
What does that mean? It's invisible?
It means that we are delusional, like our general manager.
Uh-huh.
So tin cap.
Yeah.
You're Kyle.
I'm Kyle.
What is the number one thing you do before Christmas? You have one trade that you can make, acquire. You have one move. What is number one on your priority?
Number one on my priority. I would assume it's Frost.
And what do you give Philly? Also, can you explain Morgan Frost to our listeners?
Morgan Frost is, I think about 3 or 4 years, about 3 years ago, I think it is, draft pick for the Philadelphia Flyers, I believe, maybe 12th pick in the draft or whatever. He's a good-sized centerman that's been at odds with Torts as far as getting playing time and everything else in Philadelphia. Can he fix our problems? I don't know. But I do know he is something that this team is missing. And that's somebody with some offensive skill that has size and can play center.
And what do you give Philly?
I know what they're going to have to give them. That'll be Reichel. And I'm okay with that. Is
it a 1-for-1? Or is it a...
I would like them to take some of our garbage. Ideally, if I could do it, I would like a Taylor Hall and a second rounder going to Philly. I would...
Taylor Hall's going to New Jersey.
That's what I would like to see happen. I would like to be a veteran. So all the other veterans on the team see that. It's basically you're announcing, I plan to get rid. Well, they all know that that's the other problem, is everybody knows they're there to be moved. So it really leaves a yucky taste. But that's what I do. You have to shake it up somehow. You're going to have to pay a slight premium for Frost. Lucas Reichel is, to the eye test, is playing well. Can you sell them on that, hey, this is a skilled player? I think so.
Do you do a 1-for-1, or do you think that you have to add?
Hey, I think you would have to add not a lot.
For another pick with Frost.
No, I think you would have to give up a little bit more, but not a lot. Again, maybe I could just throw in Taylor Hall and have them give us Frost in a second. I would be okay with that. It would be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, making a move to just make a move. But yeah, I think it needs to be done to just say, you can't get in front of a bunch of grown men and say this is unacceptable, and they have no consequences. They're grown men. They're like, well, sure, it's acceptable. What are you going to do? And that's the first thing from childhood, right?
Yeah.
You sit there and go, well, what are you going to do about it? And once that child or that adult finds out you're not going to do anything, it's already computed in their mind, yes, it's acceptable. The only other thing would be to fire Luke, and I don't think that's happening. I was thinking about that today, and I found out what I want. I want a meltdown. I haven't seen it ever, but I would like a Luke Richardson meltdown.
Do you want like a meltdown in the
on the bench,
like just a Paul Maurice?
Yes.
Finals, and then you've got Tomo Rutu with like bug eyes right behind him, being like, "What the hell is happening? I don't speak English."
Yes, because right now, listen, he was a really good defenseman. He's a first-time head coach. I know he cares. But I want something childish to be done where he gives me the feeling that this bothers him. And right now, being stoic all the time, I can't get it. So I want that also. I want him to go berserk saying, it's not acceptable to me either. And if that's motherfucking his whole team, then motherfuck the whole team. But nobody does that.
Yeah.
So it tells me it is acceptable. Somebody has to say, this is garbage. I'm not expecting a Jonathan Taves moment where this isn't good enough. The objective is to win. I'm not looking for that. We don't have that kind of leadership on this team, but I need somebody to throw a fit. And I don't know
if we ever will have that on our team.
I don't know either, but it needs to be done. And I'll tell you right now, if it's that gosh darn kid that does this, then shame on every veteran on that team. Because if he's the one who throws the massive temper tantrum, that whole veteran core let him down. Because he shouldn't have to do anything.
Or let him down in general.
So, again, I'm getting just upset because I hate the constant losing. And I want people to come out and flat out tell me this is the worst team in hockey. It's the way it is, instead of giving me fluff pieces of, oh, we're close. We're not. We're the worst team in hockey. That seems to be acceptable. So ideally, I'd like it from Luke because I've never seen it. I'd love to see what a Luke temper he could mess some people up.
Well, but obviously not if he's doing.
Right. But
it doesn't give me the he could mess people up.
But if he were to snap.
But I don't know if it ever exists. Like Brindamore could kill people.
Right.
Maurice could lose his mind. Torts has lost his mind.
Yeah, and I understand that it's meatheadish of me. I do understand
the component of, as much as we try to take out the meathead of the show, I mean, there is at the core of hockey, there is a meathead aspect to it.
Yes, like all sports, there's a lot of juice to everything. So trade wise, that's what I'm looking for. I think you have to make a move just to make a move. I don't think the right thing to do is bringing people up from Rockford. You don't mess with that. Don't mess with that down there.
You don't have room.
And that won't give you the effect.
Not only that, like, you're already scratching enough guys for any given game. There's no point to bring them up just so they're riding the bench. Maybe at the end of the year, certain players, in the way where you kind of like throw them a bone of like, here's some extra money, you're at the big kid level, but not in December.
Yeah, and the only other place is you try to maybe make a trade with Ottawa or whatever. I'd love to send some veteran to Ottawa. That's some punishment. Something that makes a statement. I don't know if it's possible. So we'll see. We'll see how these next, as I've said before, these next 3 weeks are important. They haven't gotten off to a good start. We go to New York for three different games next week, and we still have Boston and Winnipeg to deal with. So, come in 10 days, we could be looking back at, they're well in front of being the worst team in hockey. I need a reaction if that's the case. Or I need, ideally, what I would love is Kyle just, oh yeah, it's acceptable. Yeah, I was planning to be this bad again. Fool you. But maybe they get it together. Maybe they are that close. Maybe it is what other people are saying. They're this close to breaking out. This team that has not put together 3 wins in a row in 3 years. That's what I'm hoping on. Krusty would love to be wrong on this because I'm getting a little sick and tired of watching this.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'm going to make my woman come to the game with me tomorrow night.
All right. And on that note, guys, just as a reminder, make sure to click that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. If you're going to a game this season, wait for the whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. The beer will still be there. The bathroom will still be there. The food will still be there. If you are not eating at the United Center, highly recommend Su Taqueria El Rey del Taco over on Ogden, couple of blocks away from the United Center. It is a cold walk now, but I promise, guys, it's worth it. The food is good. They're really nice. That is all. And we will talk at you guys next week.